Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Skin Type Talks, where our goal is to discuss skin type challenges and how to combat them. My name is Lauren Suarez, and I'll be your host for today's Wrinkle-Prone versus Tight episode. We have two amazing guests joining us today. First up is our resident skincare expert, Dr. Leslie Baumann, a board-certified dermatologist, best-selling author, and creator of the Baumann Skin Typing System, and Dr. Reagan Anderson, the owner and director of the Colorado Dermatology Institute in Colorado Springs. He's also a board-certified dermatologist, an author, and served as a 1st Reconnaissance Battalion surgeon in the United States Marine Corps. Thank you so much for jumping on the call today with us. We're so excited to have you both on today's episode. So to go ahead and kick off this talk, I'd like to discuss the difference between tight and wrinkle-prone skin. What exactly does that mean?
Well, when I developed the skin typing system, it is invented to help people figure out what skincare products are right for them. So I needed to figure out a way to answer the question, at what age do I need to start using anti-aging skincare? And the answer isn't at what age, it's at what skin type. So wrinkle-prone is our skin types that need anti-aging ingredients, and tight are skin types that don't yet. And it doesn't depend on age, it depends on your habits.
Got it. So does that mean that you can only have tight skin if you're under a certain age?
You know, the first day of medical school, they taught us that health is the slowest process onto death. And so once you're born, that clock ticks. So I think that Dr. Baumann would probably say after about the age of 30, you start to develop, most people start to develop the signs of aging, not just from what we can see, but also histologically. In other words, what we can look at under a microscope, you can actually start to see little bits of damage or altered function. But I think that in America, we kind of have this tendency toward, hey, if you look good, you must be good, and don't worry about it until your arm falls off.
Right.
But I think that health is found by having continual good habits throughout a lifetime, using the right products throughout a lifetime as well. I mean, you know, it's been said, let thy food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food, from Hippocrates. And I think that now in this day and age, when we have amazing products, if you can determine what the right product is for your skin as you go through this journey called life, then I think that taken in totality, you can actually look younger, and not just look younger, but actually physically be younger.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's very true. So then what exactly would make someone wrinkle-prone or a wrinkle-prone skin type?
Well, age over 30 and habits that age you, which brings me to a question. So I'm in Miami, we're very humid, and Dr. Anderson, you're in Colorado where it's very dry. Do you think that people age faster in a dry climate? Do you notice that? I'm from a dry climate originally. I'm from Lubbock, Texas, and people just look drier and more wrinkled to me there.
So I wouldn't say that the humidity makes you age quicker. I think that if you are dehydrated, if your skin is actually dehydrated, and it can show the signs of wrinkling better than if it is hydrated. And I think that's one of the tricks, if you will, about the cosmeceutical industry, is when, you know, you see a commercial and they say, oh, you'll look younger in, you know, one application. It's like, well, you're probably just throwing some moisture in there and it's hiding some of the fine lines and wrinkles. So I don't think that you age quicker from just the ambient humidity in the air. But I will say that probably the best thing any of us can do for anti-aging, whether we're talking about the largest organ being the skin, or for our heart or for our brain, is exercise. So, you know, 30 minutes of high intensity exercise has been shown to produce more collagen and all the things that go into aging, to reduce those more than anything else that we can do, any laser, any cream, just exercise. And I do think that in places like Colorado, we are apparently the skinniest state, and people exercise all the time up here. So I think that when they use proper skincare regimens, and really important is sunscreen, if they're out and about in Colorado and getting exercise and using sunscreen, I think they tend to look younger than perhaps they would other places. But for ambient humidity, I don't think it actually impacts actual aging. Maybe just how it looks.
What about dryness, though? Do you think drier climates age you faster?
I don't know. You'd probably be the expert on that. I will say that I can't use some of the drugs, topical applications, as easily in Colorado as you can in Florida. So like tretinoin or the vitamin A creams, which are, one of the hallmarks of good skincare routine.
Yeah.
I can't use those as easily in Colorado as you can in Florida. Now, everybody has their own skin type, and it's really important for people to figure out what type of skin they have so they know what products that they need. And, that could change during different portions of their life, depending on where they are or what they're doing or how old they are. But I think it's important for people to really look at the stage of life they're in, what their goals are, and then to find the right products for that. And like I said, in Colorado, tretinoin, I think tretinoin's a foundation of good skincare routine the world over. I just can't use it as freely as perhaps you could in Florida.
So that's why in the skin type quiz, I ask a lot of questions about diet and sleep and exercise and sun exposure and sunscreen use, is to identify these factors. And we count dehydration as a separate problem. So we treat dehydration with the right cleansers and moisturizers, but we treat aging with all kinds of anti-aging ingredients.
Sure.
And it can be any age. So that's why you really have to take the quiz to figure out what your risk is. It's not just genetics. It's also what you're doing to yourself and what your habits are.
Right.
100%. And I
No,
actually
that's such a
learned
great
something
point.
about my skin when I took your skin type, right? Because for years as a dermatologist, and we have our own aesthetic practice here, I would kind of see something and look at the ingredients and kind of try it out, and it's kind of trial and error. And that got really frustrating and expensive. And then I took your skin type and I was like, all right, I'll try it. And everything that you recommended actually made my skin do better without all the trial and error. And I studied this for years, and even for a dermatologist, I learned quite a lot. So thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I hear that a lot. We have a lot of dermatologists that are using our system, and they'll take the quiz and call me and say, I don't think this is right. And then they'll use the products and they'll call me again and go, I can't believe how good my skin is. So even dermatologists do not guess properly what their skin type is. So they need to take the quiz too. Everybody needs to take the quiz. We've spent years validating it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, right? Because you've taken a lot of or almost all the guesswork out of it. I'm sure there's a time or two that something might not hit the mark, but when you did the approach that I did for years, which is, okay, I'll look at the ingredients, see if the company's good. Okay, this sounds right. Let me try it. I probably only about 10% of the time did a product actually do what it was supposed to do on my particular skin. Doesn't mean the product was bad. It just means for me, for my unique whatevers, it just wasn't right. So yeah, it's really helped out a lot.
Yeah. It completely takes out all the guesswork. I've said it time and time again, and it transformed the health of my skin completely. I mean, I used to have really bad hormonal acne, and my rosacea I would get flare ups, and now like on my skin type system, like it's night and day. The health of my skin has like completely transformed. So
Yep.
And
And
by
if
the
I could
way,
just stay
Dr.
away from chocolate, I would stop getting these guys. But every once in a while,
yeah.
Oh, nobody can stay away from chocolate.
Yeah.
yeah.
Dr. Reagan, what is your skin type? I'm a DSNW. What is your skin type?
He is too.
Same.
Oh, we're the same? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've got that miserable Scottish, Irish, English, worst skin on the planet. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah.
You guys wear it well. The both of you wear it very well, let me tell you.
Thank you.
You both look great.
Well, and I think that's interesting, right? Because I'm 48, and as you said, I was a doctor to the Marines, and so my skin has gotten beaten up a lot.
Yeah.
And I became a dermatologist after my time with the Marines. And so I think one of the points is that, like Dr. Baumann said earlier, we have to be careful with the sun. And a lot of people don't know that smoking and sun exposure actually impact a lot of the same enzymes that cause you to not only age, but also increase your risk for skin cancers. And so a lot of us have had situations in our life where we grew up with, the mirror to tan underneath the chin and laying out with baby oil and all this nonsense. And they say, the damage is done. It's like, no, our bodies have this amazing self-healing, self-regulating mechanisms that if we just treat it like the temple it is and start taking care of it, you can not only stop a lot of this stuff, but you can actually reverse a lot of the damage. And so it's never too late. I've had a ton of sunburns on my face and all this, and for 48, I'm doing pretty good. Haven't had my first skin cancer yet, but have the good habits right now.
Yeah. It's definitely all about the habits for sure. It plays such an important role. So let's say I'm like a 25-year-old female and I take the quiz and I come out as a wrinkle-prone type. Does that mean that I'm doomed to have fine lines and wrinkles in like a year or less?
No, no, you're not. You're not doomed for anything. Your future is in your hands, whether we're talking about emotions or whether we're talking about health or we're talking about how your skin looks.
Right.
So you're not doomed. Does it mean you're prone to? Absolutely. It means you're prone to. And does it mean that you need to find good habits now? Absolutely. You need to take the skin type quiz. You need to figure out what the products are. You need to use those. You need to exercise every day. You need to have a carrot every once in a while. There's all sorts of things. You need to be, if you call it meditation or prayer, you need to be doing these things so that your mind, body, and spirit is healthy. But you're not doomed for anything. I guess we're all doomed to die one day, but that's going to be very, very far in the future. And I don't know, Dr. Baumann, what do you think about that?
I agree. It's like saying you're prone to diabetes or you're prone to heart disease. Doesn't mean you're going to get it if you eat right, you exercise, you take care of yourself. You talk to your doctor, get on statins, maybe whatever the issue is, you can prevent that. The key is knowing. And if you don't know you're prone to something, you're not going to take the right steps to prevent it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And what I try to teach my patients is, from all aspects, not just the skin health, but who you are as a person. Who do you want to be in 10 years? How many of us ask that? How many of us ask what type of mobility we want, who we are as a person, like what traits of compassion, what habits we need to do? Who is your ideal person in 10 years? And write down on a piece of paper what you need to do that. And then do it. And people say, habits are so hard, or how do I throw this in? The easiest thing for me to incorporate a new habit is to attach it to something that is already rock solid. So rock solid is I brush my teeth twice a day. I just do. I don't care if I'm camping or on the ski slopes or at work. Like at least twice a day, I floss my teeth. So all I do now is I add something in before I'm allowed to do that habit.
Yep.
So if it's the skin type regimen, I do that before I'm allowed to brush my teeth. And then when you just stack habit on top of habit on top of habit, and don't try to do 100 all at once. Do one. After you have it down for 2 weeks, add another thing on. And before you know it, they say like over 95% of what we do every day is habits. If we just have some intentionality with that, none of this stuff is hard. It just takes a couple minutes, and then you become who you want to be in 10 years. But actually you do it in 1 or 2 months. And then you keep asking yourself that question. Who do you want to be? Nelson Mandela, incredible man, 27, I think, years in prison. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't a Club Med prison. And he was finally released and asked, aren't you mad for them taking those 27 years away from you? And he said, well, why would I be mad? They gave me 27 years to prepare to change the world.
That's beautiful.
Just some intentionality.
I just read his biography. I just read his biography. It's so good. So if anyone hasn't read it, it is fantastic. What's funny is I tag my habits to my brushing my teeth as well. I always use my skincare regimen. I always take my hair vitamins because I want my hair to get longer, and then I brush my teeth. So it's funny that we both use brushing our teeth as the anchor to get ourselves to do our good habits.
Habit
Absolutely.
stacking is actually so powerful. It reminds me a lot of this book that I read not too long ago. I forgot the name of it now off the top of my head, but
Atomic habits.
what was it?
Is it Atomic Habits? Everybody's talking about
Yes,
Atomic
that's the one.
Habits. Yeah.
Atomic Habits. Yeah, it's such a fantastic book. It's a great read and very inspiring. His story is really sad, but like just so inspiring how he really turned his life around. And it really is just all about your mindset. And you could do the same thing for your skin, which
And
is
you don't have to have wrinkles. I'm
right.
55. I don't have wrinkles, but I admit that I've used retinoids for 20 years. I've had Botox and different fillers and things like that. But if you see, I don't really have any, and I'm really light skinned, and I got a lot of sun growing up. It's just from, I guess, since 1995, I've been doing the right thing for my skin.
Yeah, that's really what it's all about. Um,
And
which
a lot of
kind of
people
brings me,
also, they come into my clinic and they're not willing to do a daily skincare regimen. They want me to do a CO2 laser that basically kind of burns your skin in a controlled way. And they want the get rich quick scheme to skincare, right? They just blast me and then I'm never doing anything for my skin. And that will do some, but it will do nothing compared to a daily committed 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute in the evening. I mean, that's what we're really talking about here. Maybe 2 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes in the evening, but that will do infinitely more than all the $100,000 lasers that I have.
right?
Yeah, I tell my patients it's like going to a health spa once a year, spending all that money, exercising and doing all that stuff, and then eating wrong the rest of the year. That's what it's like
Yeah,
when you don't use the right skincare.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't just come get Botox. Sorry about my dogs.
no, you're fine.
But you can't just get Botox 4 times a year and ignore your skin every other day.
Right.
I'm
It
just gonna shut my door.
No, you're fine. But it's to your point, it's a lifestyle habit, right? It's a lifestyle change. The same way that like you consistently eat healthy or you work out 3 to 5 times a week. Doing your skincare every day, morning and night, is just as important as brushing your teeth morning and night. It's a part of self-care and it's a part of a habit that improves the longevity of yourself, your skin, and the way that you're going to look for years to come. So it's
Yep.
absolutely so important.
It's
Um,
huge.
yeah,
And you know what drives me crazy is when people are spending a fortune on skincare products and they're not using the right ones for their skin. So they're actually trying to do the habits and they're using these products and they're spending time and money and then they're not doing it right because they got tricked into some marketing or the products weren't right for their skin.
yeah,
So you don't have
Well,
to spend a lot of money. You just have to use the right thing consistently.
and the other thing that drives me
absolutely.
nuts is that um, you can tell a disingenuous product by if they're promising you the sun and moon, right? uh, Nothing is you're going to be able to put on your skin once, and 5 minutes later you're going to look 30 years younger with everything gone. I mean, we know
Yeah,
snake oil when we see it. The other thing that drives me really crazy is if you go into some shops that do not have a license to practice medicine, sometimes people find products in there that have no active ingredients, but in order to have active ingredients for a lot of things, you actually have to go to a doctor's office to get those. And so they'll be spending the same amount of money getting something that doesn't really have active ingredients. And I don't know if that's a problem in Florida, but it certainly is in Colorado. And people, you have to go to someone who's you trust. You have to know what to put on your skin, how to put on your skin, and these are drugs, which is really cool, right? Most cosmeceuticals people don't think of as drugs, but the definition of a drug is it changes the physiologic, like how your body actually functions, the structure and function. And so you look at vitamin A's, you look at heparin sulfates, you look at vitamin C's, you look at these things, you're like, vitamin C is a drug? Absolutely. You put it on topically. We know how the great benefits it has for that. You take it internal, we know the great benefits from vascular elasticity to antioxidants, to all the things that vitamin C does. So I think that when you are looking at this, you would not go, at least I hope you wouldn't, to a drugstore in Mexico and just grab a bunch of stuff off the shelf and shove this down your throat and shove that down your throat, and I'll try a little of this, because you don't need a medical license in Mexico to get a lot of things. And most people wouldn't do that. And yet that's what we do with our skincare routines. We go to places and we grab this because it's a pretty bottle, and we grab that because someone said it was the miracle drug, and you're most likely just throwing money away. It's just not the right way to do stuff.
And if it works for your friend or your mom, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. That's another thing, as a company would love for you to believe that this one product is excellent for everybody. But that's not the case. There's 16 different skin types. So I like it that now you can review products and tell people what your skin type is, so other people can look and see, is that person the same skin type as me? No? Well, then their review isn't applicable to me. If they are the same skin type as you, then their review is applicable to you. So it's just a better way. So apples are communicating with apples and oranges are communicating with oranges.
So true.
You wouldn't have a one-size-fits-all shoe, right? There's not a one-size-fits-all skincare routine either.
Exactly. Yeah. And so many people, they're influenced by people on TikTok or whatever social media channels they're using for their information, and then they go and they buy the product expecting it to do what it did for them, and it could have just been like an ad, even, like maybe they were getting paid to say that, and it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you too. So that's another thing. I mean, a lot of people are just throwing their money using the wrong products. And
it's fine to spend a lot of money if you want to spend a lot of money on skincare, but use products that are right for you.
Yeah, it's about the efficacious, scientifically backed skincare products. So what would you guys say? I want both of your takes on this. Like, what products are the absolute best for wrinkle-prone skin types or anti-aging?
You go first, Dr. Anderson. I know we're going to say the same thing.
Well, maybe. I mean, sunscreen, zinc-based sunscreens or titanium-based sunscreen. Zinc is my personal favorite. I think that's number one. Number two is probably a vitamin A product. And there's lots of different ones out there depending on skin type, right? And age and all sorts of other things. I'd say number three is probably vitamin C. I would say number four is broccoli. Okay, so
yes.
I'm serious about this one, like the sulforaphanes that are in broccoli and all that sort of thing, and all the cruciferous vegetables and fruits, and not that you're rubbing broccoli on your skin, but consuming them, right? So resveratrol is another very important molecule to take, niacinamide in terms of vitamin supplementation. But the best thing is a well-rounded diet, sunscreens, tretinoins, vitamin C's topically, and then there's the nutraceutical market of what you actually consume. It's gotten a little crazy and it needs to be regulated, but there's some really good stuff out there for anti-aging that you can take. With that would be prayer or meditation, whatever you want to personally call it, every day, and exercise. And I think everybody should be getting at least 30 minutes of exercise at least 6 times a week. And I think HIIT, high intensity training, interval training, is probably the best thing you can do for collagen, for cardiovascular health. But sustained low aerobic exercise, like going for a walk on a beautiful day, all of these things are important, guys. Your skin is not an isolated organ. It might be the easiest to see, but it is not isolated. Health is mind, body, spirit, all day long.
Absolutely. So
I agree, but what I would add to that is the right cleanser and moisturizer. People that don't think cleansers and moisturizers are important a lot of times, but your cleanser can irritate your skin and cause inflammation, which causes aging. And your moisturizers also need to be geared to get rid of dehydration and get rid of inflammation. So while I totally agree, sunscreen, retinoids, first 2 most important things, the next to me is the cleansers and moisturizers. Don't just grab anything, and don't use your shampoo to wash your face. Some people do that.
So true.
Yeah, and Irish Spring is not used for anything, people. So, I mean, there's some products out there. I don't care what your skin type is, you don't use it, right? If you can use your cleanser to also take the paint off your car, don't use it. And I'm kind of being
Yeah.
sarcastic here, but man, there's some horrible stuff out there that I just can't believe the things people bring in, and you just rub it on your skin. It feels like sandpaper. I'm like, what are you doing to your skin? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you are using Irish Spring and you're having no trouble, I know what skin type you are. Those are the ORNT. Very rare, but their skin is so resilient and tough, and with all this oil that protects them, that they'll come in without even answering any other questions. And they say, "Oh, I use Irish Spring, and I have no problems." I immediately know their skin type. Each skin type has this personality, and I can guess just by hearing what people say.
That's fascinating.
So funny. So, what would you guys say are like what are some hacks to improve lifestyle habits? Because I feel like the main takeaway from this episode is that anti-aging ingredients and skincare products work in conjunction with your lifestyle habits. So, what would you say are some hacks to improve on those?
Tony Robbins says the past does not equal your future. Love Tony. Shout out to Tony. Much love. This right here, you're worth it, right? Your brain, what you think of yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you can tell how you talk to others by how you talk to yourself, and vice versa. So if you want a life hack, learn how to love you. Become who you want to be in 10 years. Be the change you wish to see in the world. And I'm sure that everybody listening to this is going to say that, they don't want to be 10 years from now looking like they're 40 years older than they actually are. All right. So just tell yourself you're worth it. Realize that beauty is not skin deep, but it sure can add to the total package that is you.
So
And
true.
that's proven. It's so proven. So when you're stressed, which can be you're not getting enough sleep, it could be emotional stress, it could be you're not exercising enough, your cortisol levels rise, which is a hormone. They call it the stress hormone. And when cortisol levels rise, your body holds on to more sugar. And you'll actually have higher glucose in your bloodstream, and that leads to aging. We all know that sugar causes aging. So stress is directly related to skin aging. So prayer, meditation, yoga, just closing your mind, just relaxing your mind and trying to have a blank mind for even 5 minutes, all those things have been proven to help lower stress. So talking to other people, being part of a community, I like to go to group exercise classes like Pilates or something like that. And studies show just by being around other people, that helps your stress levels. So we can't iterate enough how important that is. What do you think, Dr. Anderson, about this fasting, this periodic fasting? Because I'm not somebody who can fast very well. I still eat 3 meals a day. What do you think about that? The data is pretty good, but
I honestly I think fasting is very powerful
Yeah.
to a certain extent, but
Yeah.
I'd love to hear Reagan's
I wish
take
I
on
could
that.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to do it, Leslie. So when you fast, you increase your sirtuins in your body, which your sirtuins are the enzymes that are the anti-agings. And there are different skincare routines that help with that. More on the way, which is really exciting. So what the reason that fasting works is because, well, there's a lot of reasons. It cleans out toxins and does other sorts of things, but you're actually stimulating anti-aging. You don't need to do that, though. Working out hard also does that. And that's why people who
Oh,
exercise
yeah.
and have the proper weight often look decades younger than they actually are, as long as they're using sunscreen when they're outside. You can also, I take metformin. I don't have diabetes. I don't have a glucose problem, but metformin is being studied on huge double-blind, placebo-controlled, yada yada, because people who take metformin, which regulates your blood sugars, which you were talking about earlier, they have less Alzheimer's. They have less risk of cancer. They don't age as quickly. So I take metformin every day. You can also stimulate your sirtuins by things like niacinamide, oral supplementation with that, resveratrol. There are proven ingredients that we have now that can handle this. But the interesting thing, and one of your skin types criteria is inflammation. You know, years ago, we thought cholesterol was the thing, right? Cholesterol was all the rage about causing everything, kind of like we thought Al-Qaeda was responsible for everything 10 years ago. But, cholesterol has its role, but inflammation is one of the biggest factors in preventing age. So the less inflammation you have, the less you're going to age. I
They call it
view
Yeah.
inflammaging. How do you say that? They
infl-
call it inflammaging, right?
inflammaging. Yeah. So
Inflammaging.
I view aging as a disease. It boggles my mind that every doctor on the planet does not. And yet you poll us and ask us, is aging a disease? The vast majority of us will say no. And I said, okay, well, I want you to look at the average 95-year-old getting out of a car and compare that to a 20-year-old, the average 20-year-old getting out of the car, and tell me that their structure and function is not altered. The
Right.
definition of aging, it's not optimal. And so, we're talking about right now with wrinkle prone and tight skin and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of that is directly associated with quote unquote aging. But
Right.
I'm not saying that we have the fountain of youth here, but we have the ingredients to slow aging down. And even if you don't actually have 1 year longer to live than if you hadn't done this, I promise you the quality of those years will be exponentially greater than if you didn't do that.
And I'm so glad that working out a lot is you can do instead of fasting, because I do work out a lot. But
Yeah.
when you brought up sirtuins, I just want to say something really quickly. That's such a great example of pseudoscience and false marketing on skincare. So sirtuin is amazing research. We all know that sirtuin is important and plays a role in aging. Well, when they first discovered that about 8 to 10 years ago, I think it was, they started putting sirtuin on the ingredient list on skincare products. Can you believe that?
That probably
Sirtuin
doesn't
is,
work.
it's, well, first of all, it's not an ingredient. It's a protein that's in your skin that, and if you put it on topically, it's not going to get down in your skin and work. And it isn't that you need more sirtuin and you need your genes to turn on and off. Anyway, it's just a perfect example of somebody hearing the science and using that word and sticking it on a skincare product and trying to sell things. And those words you're going to be hearing are senescence and autophagy and exosomes and all of these things, which are going to work and be important in the future. But right now, there's one exosome product that I believe in, but besides that, all these other things, it's still too early. That's why I like to follow the research in nature and science and all those things where they are doing it in mice. But don't get suckered into buying those skincare products yet, because they're not doing it in humans yet.
Yeah, and it's very
Absolutely.
dangerous, right? So we're talking about extracellular vesicles and microsomes and micro mRNAs and epigenetics and all these things. It's the wild west right now. Calling any of this stuff science right now is a little crazy. Me taking metformin right now when I don't have diabetes, it's probably right on the edge of crazy versus smart. But I think in a couple of years, everybody who wants to have longevity is going to be on metformin. But even that, the science is not there yet. So I 100% agree with everything you just said. Yeah.
I take Ozempic, by the way, so it also lowers your blood sugar. It's
Yeah.
just a different way to do the same thing.
Yeah.
That is so cool. I didn't even know that you could take that without having diabetes, which that's
Yeah.
kind of amazing. But yeah, to your point, I mean, it's all about preventative measures, increasing your longevity and just lifestyle habits.
So the most important thing is to recognize early that you're wrinkle prone, and don't be sad about it. It just tells you, change your habits now while you can, so that you won't wrinkle. You don't want to wait until you have wrinkles to treat them. You want to prevent getting them in the first place. That's really the key.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And if you do that, the amount of other problems that you're going to have is going to be negligible had you not. Like you're not going to have anywhere close to the type of skin cancers or precancers or altered pigmentation or all of these other things that I promise you don't want. Uh, you're going to have hardly any of that as you go through the process of life.
Well, I think that this was a really great discussion today. I think a lot of the viewers are going to have a lot to think about and learn with all of this. I I'm so grateful that you both were able to jump on for this call. So thank you so much again for joining. And if you enjoyed the Skin Type Talks episode, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below with any questions or additional comments that you guys might have for future episodes. Thank you so much for joining, and we will see you all on the next episode.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.